o'clock. Call the Brimfield Township Board of Trustees regular meeting to order on November 4th, 2020 at 8 a.m. Roll call for attendance, John.
Everyone in attendance, Mike?
Yes.
Nick?
Yes.
Sue?
Yes.
You have a full board.
Due to the virtual setup, we'll forego the Pledge of Allegiance, but will have a moment of silence for meditation and prayer. All right, announcements and correspondences. Does anybody have any announcements or correspondences they would like to share? We'll start with you, Sue.
No, I don't.
Okay, Mike?
Nope, it's been quiet.
All right. I do have one, and maybe this will turn into a bigger discussion for Dave. There is a leaf problem in Brimfield. So we used to be able to take our leaves and drop them over. They're now checking IDs and are only letting Kent proper residents drop those leaves there. Brimfield Aggregate used to take them, and they're now saying they have too much, so they're not taking them. So I had a couple residents reach out recently asking what can they do with their leaves. They have nowhere to put them. Any suggestions, Dave?
Not off the top of my head, Nick, because that's where we normally put aggregate and stuff.
Nick, did we ever get a resolution from Kent in regards to the JED about the Plum Creek Park? Or dumping them there?
Yeah, so we talked about that. It's not within the JED language. They're not going to uphold that this year. They're not going to allow us to drop anything there on their properties. There is some talk that maybe there could be a cost for service to do that maybe in 2021, but those are still preliminary discussions. So as it sits this year, for our residents, unless they're bagging them and their trash hauler picks them up, they don't have many options there. For those of us with smaller lots, that's not bad. We have one of the residents that called was an elderly lady that she said she'd have 60, 70 bags of leaves to put out, and she doesn't know what to do with them because they used to fill up the bed of the pickup truck and run them down to Plum Creek. So I'm not sure what that solution is. I don't know if there's a future plan too here, but it is a concern for the residents this year because typically Kent took them and now they're not. That's a new piece this year. And then Brimfield Aggregate being full was a new piece. So both options that we normally would refer people to are no longer an option.
Hey, Nick, like I said, I had talked to Dave Roller, and I mean, we can have a longer discussion late. And, you know, it's nothing against Brimfield residents. They just don't have the room for what they have. And, you know, it's a big problem than us just dumping it there. You know, if they had the space and stuff, I'm sure we could work something out. But this year, it's just, they have no room. And I understand where they're coming from. So short of us finding a big hollow or, you know, I don't know where we can put it. I mean, this is definitely something. This might become more of an issue now, you know, with more subdivisions coming in. So, you know, through the winter, maybe we need to, well, not maybe, I think we should look into some options, Nick. So this will be.
And I think I think it's a bigger discussion. Do we have to get them, you know, hauled off site from Brimfield? Do we have a composting area within Brimfield? How do we monitor that? There's a lot. There has been a couple concerns brought up, so I wanted to bring that forward for Dave and Parks to start thinking about what options we might have for that.
I guess I just have one question here, which kind of irks me a little bit. Are the businesses of Brimfield Township that have leave that pay taxes into the JED to Kent, are they eligible to drop there?
Well, the true thing of the story is they do have some businesses that drop stuff off, but the businesses say that it's from Kent. But how can you look at a leaf and say, well, this leaf was from Brimfield? So they have some issues there too.
Well, but if there was a business owner that could identify themselves as a business in Brimfield and was dropping stuff there that they don't do anything with, I guess that's where my issue comes in.
But the Yeah, and so when we looked at that as a JED board, the JED contract wasn't specific to that point, to that they would have access to those services. Therefore, we'd have to reopen that JED to add those services.
Well, this is just another time in another meeting. I know we're just commenting on it here, but I would like a list as a Brimfield Township business of what I get, my JED dollars from Kent, because all I know right now is I get nothing. But I pay taxes to Kent.
Right. I mean, we know they pay the administrative costs, but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, but as a business, I don't care about the admin costs. I just say, hey, I'm paying a tax and I get nothing for it.
But remember, with the JED, they were also supposed to assist us on, with zoning issues and promoting the JED, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, I mean, John, that's a very legitimate question. And I think they hold our feet to the fire. Maybe we ought to have a letter from the Board of Trustees asking what they do with the money. I mean, I just from talking to Dave Ruler, that Kent is hurting with tax dollars. I mean, we're all hurting. So, John, that's a great.
Yeah. I just look at it as they're getting my business's tax dollars and I get nothing from it. So they get it for free. I always things that I was getting from my government that I paid for. So that's just
right.
another issue, but that's another day.
We're also getting $1.4 million for CARES Act too.
Yeah.
Right. So, John, at the next JED board meeting, which we've already scheduled, I put a note here, and I'll put it in my meeting minutes to talk about that with the board, to develop a list, just like Talmadge offers us discounts at the rec center and other services. We'll get that listing put together for the businesses.
Thank you, Nick.
You're welcome. All right. Hearing no other announcements, no meeting guests today. Meeting minutes. Did anybody have a chance to go over and review the meeting minutes, or do we need to table that?
I have not reviewed them.
I think Sue is the only one that did, so we're gonna have to table those.
Yeah. All right. So we'll table meeting minutes till next meeting. The agenda. Hopefully you had a chance to review the agenda. I need a motion to accept the agenda.
So move.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in
All right.
favor? Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue.
Yes.
Okay, motion passed.
All right. Purchase orders. I have not been over to the fiscal office to review and sign those. Do we have a motion and a second available on the floor for that?
I have not been over there either.
We're gonna
Probably
have
later
to-
today.
We can table those.
Yeah, but we need to, Mike's gonna be here right after the meeting for the warrants, so I need to get those passed so we can mail them out. Sue's already signed them.
Okay. So can I get a motion on the warrants in a second?
So move. On the warrants.
I can't make a motion on that because I haven't seen them.
So then we're gonna have, what are we gonna do with this thing? Because I can't send checks until I get an approval.
Okay, well, I will be over there right away, so what's your suggestion, John?
I would just be based on that you'd make a motion that you're gonna come over here and sign them, and we'll be able to mail them out. And then that'll be good.
Okay, I'll make that.
Okay. Roll call.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Abstain.
Sue,
Yes.
the motion passed. Thank you.
And then Mike, on that, if you reviewed the checks and there was a check in question, you could just pull that check and that would not get sent and it'd be brought up at the next meeting.
Correct. If you don't sign it, Mike, then it doesn't go through. Okay.
Public comments and questions. Do we have any, we'll start with Sue. Do you have any public comments or questions sent to you?
No.
Okay. Mike, any public comments or questions?
Nope.
Okay. I don't have any either. Move into safety concerns. Any safety concerns? Mike?
None.
Sue?
No. No calls.
Okay. Department heads, any safety concerns?
No.
All right. Hearing none. All right, we'll move into the business portion of our meeting. Police Department. Roy, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Nick. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Great. Okay, I just have a couple of items for you guys this morning. Informationally, just wanted to make, we have a couple of in Columbus this week. Of course, on traffic crash investigation with the State Patrol. Actually, one of the few classes this year that have actually gone forward with COVID and bringing people together. This is one of the few that actually did not get canceled. So those officers are down there for the week. They'll be back on Friday. Just a brief update, training angle of that thing. The only other item I have for you this morning is just a discussion item on the impound lot. And I had put together some numbers with Patty and Captain Atkins, and you should have a copy of that document. I had an opportunity along with Captain Atkins late last week. We went over and met with John, kind of discussed this issue. I know we discussed this a little bit at our planning meeting as well. And really what I want to do today is just kind of put this out there as a discussion point with the board to give some potential consideration to phasing out our use of the impound lot. And my primary reason for looking at this and wanting to give this some examination is the time and expense that we have associated with running that impound lot versus our ROI on return on investment and what we're actually getting out of that. So there's some numbers that were put together there to kind of give you a rough idea on impound fees and some of the costs that are associated with that and abandoned vehicles. And one of the factors I wanted to kind of highlight there, you'll notice there was a figure put into that report that shows estimated employee expense, and that was at $15,885. That's really only accounting for time associated with one of our clerks. That's not accounting for any time that a police officer gets involved in these issues with releasing vehicles from the impound lot, processing paperwork, spending time in the impound lot, letting people get things in and out. So that number is low. Exactly how low, I can't tell you, but I know that that's low because I'm not accounting for any officer time there. So the issue here is looking at the time that's involved with running this lot versus ROI and examining this in the future. I will tell you one of the points that I discussed with John, and John, if you want to chime in or give some input, is any money that in from the impound lot has gone towards making a cruiser payment. It's traditionally gone towards that. And one of the discussion points I had with John was potentially utilizing JED M&I funds to go towards a cruiser payment each year as we consider maybe phasing away from running this impound lot. So that's a brief overview of where and why I wanted to bring this up with the board this morning.
Let me hit on that right now, Roy, while we're talking about it. The reason I'm talking about the JED M&I, we always have an amount out there that we're trying to get all three of the departments to spend out of the town of Gemini. That cruiser, one of their cruisers is pretty much down there all the time. So that is a JED M&I expense that we can purchase its equipment for the betterment of the JED. So I'm working the numbers out. I think we should just $1,000 amount out there each year that goes towards one of the cops out of the M&I, or one of the police cruisers out of the M&I, which works into what the M&I needs. So we'll bring that back at a different day, but I just wanted to throw that out there. That's what I was thinking, and it was probably the best option.
Roy, with that impound lot, if we were to phase that out and no longer existed, where do cars get impounded to now? Is there a cost for us to get them impounded there? You know, what does that look like? I want to kind of compare apples to apples per se.
Yeah, so just kind of let me paint a brief picture. Kind of where we are now is we have a current tow provider, which is Marlboro Towing. They're currently the only provider that we're utilized for towing. They provide the towing piece. And that's a separate entity. That's separate and apart from how we handle storage and fees. So they handle the tow piece. They tow those vehicles all to our impound lot, at which point they're placed back in our lot. And at that point forward, that becomes ours. And then we in turn process all of the work, abandoned vehicle fees, selling vehicles that are abandoned there. So we take on the whole processing from there. What would change would be if we no longer ran the impound lot, then we're still going to have our designated tow provider or providers, and they're simply going to do what they would normally do in most communities in Portage County. They're going to handle the tow. They'll tow that vehicle to wherever that owner of that vehicle may want it towed, or they'll tow it back to their own lot and store it there. So they would take on that whole piece. We really wouldn't be involved in the storage and release of vehicles at all at that point.
So there's no cost to us if somebody abandons a vehicle to the tow service. They have it, you know, it gets impounded because it was abandoned on the side of the road. 6 months go by, nobody's claimed it. We're not going to get a bill for that car.
Yeah, any abandoned vehicles at that point become the responsibility of that tow provider. If they're maintaining the storage there, that's going to be on them. Would not be on us.
And then we'd be able to clean up that back lot, remove that fencing, and use that area for storage of our own vehicles or whatever we want in the future then.
Yeah, I mean, that is township-owned property right there. So if you're thinking longer vision, if there's a potential that there's maybe an addition on our building in the future with the community growth, you're right, that space belongs to the township and can be used as deemed fit if it's no longer being utilized in the current fashion, which is a storage area.
So Roy,
How long do we have to hold those cars before we can empty out what's sitting there then? Is this a kind of a 2-3 year phase out process?
No.
Phase out process?
No, I think it'd be much shorter than that. I think what we would do is have to process, there's X amount of time goes by before we process a vehicle as being abandoned. And there's various forms that need to be filled out and filed with that to process those according to statute. But no, I wouldn't see it being a long process like that at all. I think what we would do is if decisions made at some point to decide that, yes, we'd like to phase this out. I think what I would recommend to the board is we kind of do that in a gradual way. It doesn't need to be in a drop dead 30-day, 60-day window. We'll put some window out there, an adequate amount of time to begin to process what's in there now. The secondary pieces will also need to put together a tow agreement. Right now, we don't really have a formal agreement in writing. I think one of the suggestions I want to make to the board is we consider maybe utilizing a tow provider or tow providers, more than one, that meet certain criteria that we spell out in the tow agreement. So in other words, if you tow for the Brimfield Police Department, you have to meet certain requirements as far as the time for your driver to get there, your equipment, et cetera, et cetera. We'd want some basic parameters spelled on an agreement. And we would need some time to do that. We couldn't just close the impound lot down in 7 days because we'd have processing that would be involved. And I think the step we would need to put in place first is to actually put in place tow agreements with whoever we designate as our designated provider. So that piece would need to take place in conjunction with this.
okay, Roy,
Okay.
I just have a few questions. So give me what is the dollar amount you make on revenue from the thing, estimated per year?
Yeah, if you look at the page 1 of that document that was put together from 16, 17, 18, and 19, it varies. Net profits anywhere from 17,000, 15,000, 17,000, 19,000.
So it's way down from what it used to be, from what the previous chief.
Going back prior, I'd have to go back and look at those numbers, Mike. There's a couple things I would want to.
John, you remember those numbers? I mean,
Yeah, but there were different rules out there in regards to how you do impounding as well. But those
Right.
numbers were in that $50,000 to $80,000 a year profit, and that's what we were paying police cruisers out of that money. But with all the changes, Roy kind of just has to abide by now that.
I know. I just as a trustee hate getting rid of you because I mean, number one, your employees during the day are there, and whether they have to do something extra, I mean, that's just doing business. So I understand having to come in at off hours, but I mean, I know we're all screaming about money, but if we're so quickly to get rid of $17,000 to $18,000, I mean, at my business, we all work harder with less.
Yeah, I think I'll speak as a resident at this point. I'm not a fan of pulling police officers off patrol to go in and process tow paperwork and babysit cars out in the impound lot.
Well, that's why I was thinking your office staff would do that.
Well, they're not always there. I mean,
But
if they're on a day off or they're not there, the officers on patrol handle that. They'll take the
Monday
phone
through
call,
Friday they are.
right? But we don't always get vehicles released between 7 a.m. and 3 p.m.
Well, could we
It's not
make
always-
it?
And it's
Could
not
we
always
make
money.
it that way?
No, Mike, one of those rules that changed where we used to be able to be open just business hours, we have to be open at any time for them to come to get their car, which now pulls a cop off the street at 10
Well,
o'clock
then,
at
yeah,
night.
I understand that. I'd rather keep the cop on the street, but I mean, if we could do it Monday through Friday, business hours, I mean, that'd be different. I just know how we're all fighting for money.
I agree.
Well, that was,
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, Mike. I appreciate that feedback. Again, this is just out for discussion this morning, so that's why I wanted to put it on as an agenda item. One of the items, too, if you want to look at from before to after and make some comparisons, previously, you could hold somebody's car back in an impound lot and not allow them to go in and get anything out of that car until they paid their fees. Well, a series of law changes went into place, and that's one of them that was impacted where you can no longer do that. People can come in and get things out of their cars. We accommodate all that, but they don't have to pay any of their fees, and they leave it abandoned. So there is a time factor involved with this, and it would be inaccurate for me to say that it's always just a clerk. It's not. We're pulling officers to handle these things too. So.
Well, I know how short our officers they need all the help they can on the roads. So, I mean, I know you've probably weighed this in. I just had to ask those questions.
No, it's just for discussion, Mike. I appreciate the feedback. I wasn't asking you guys to make a decision on this today. I wanted to put it out,
Well,
to put it on the table to discuss.
Technically, it should be your decision. You're our department head. So, I mean, you have to weigh everything and you make the educated decision. You
Well,
know?
what I'm concerned about is, so we would be giving up an income of 17,000 a year, but when you all the hours that the employees put in to make this impound lot work, I think it's a wash, and we're going in the hole.
Well,
I
and this
think-
was just one of those things that came up now, which was a good time to start discussing it because it's getting to the point where it's not worth it for us. And correct me if I'm wrong, Roy, on a night when we might have 3 officers on the street, we might have someone off on vacation and now 2 officers on the street. And if they're both on calls, one of them gets pulled back and now we only have 1 guy out there, which puts an officer in a situation at any time. So is that correct in me saying that, Roy?
Yeah. Does that happen from time to time? Yeah, that's an accurate statement. That does happen from time to time. That's correct.
So again, Mike, and just so you know, it's that point to start talking about that. We really need to, it's not the good old days that we had over there making all that money, but it's not that anymore.
I mean, some of these, I mean, I don't want to get into a long discussion, but, you know, I worry about some of these officers when there's only 2 officers on the road. I mean, there's a bigger picture to this whole thing.
Agreed.
And I mean, with these radicals out there, I'm just scared to death for some of our officers. And, you know, I mean, the government needs to do more to help police officers, plain and simple. And you know, we need help. So,
Yep.
Roy,
Well, and I think
Roy,
looking at this and pulling, I think looking at this and pulling officers off the road to handle this, because now the rules have changed where we have to be able to give them access 24/7, changes a lot. If it was a Monday through Friday operation, I think we would continue doing it. Even if it's $17,000, we have somebody there to take care of it. But I'm seeing a lot of evidence supporting us moving away from it. So what I'd like to see Roy do, kind of do a final analysis of it, you know, look over the options, maybe even talk with some tow companies to see what that looks like, because while we're losing that $17,000, are we able in that contract to secure better tow fees if we have exclusive contracts with 1 or 2 tow companies? You know, sometimes we find when we have those exclusive contracts for anything, be it vehicle maintenance, be it towing or whatever, when you're giving them that exclusive rights to your area, you'll be able to score a better financial benefit to that, which could help offset some of these costs too.
is there, you know, Roy, I don't know, this was probably all wrong. Is there any way if we would have some certain providers that we could get a fee from them?
Well, I would tell you, I wouldn't want to say preclude anything right now.
I mean, is this something worth talking to Mark?
I'm sorry?
You think it's worth talking to Mark Gadetti or someone?
Well, yeah, whether it's Mark or somebody else, yeah, I think we get to the point, if we want to start examining putting together a tow agreement, if we want to get to that point where we start examining, okay, we're going to put something formal together, I think there's a series of things that need to be spelled out within that document. And could something like, hey, is it, if you get an opportunity to tow for Brimfield Township, it's you pay you pay some type of an annual fee to get that service to do that. A secondary piece I would potentially tie into that is something that I did when I was at Streetsboro, is we had an administrative tow fee that was attached to tows. So we had a designated tow. They handled the impound, they handled the storage, that was all there on their side. We did have officer time tied up in some of those tows, doing processing of the vehicles, the scenes, etc. So they paid a small administrative tow fee for each vehicle they towed for us, and that was payable back to our department that we used for equipment and training. So
that makes sense.
Could that be a potential piece? It could be. We'd have to get some legal consult on that, but that could be a potential side piece that could build in. So my short answer to you, Mike, is yes, I think we'd want somebody to take a look at that as far as what an agreement piece would look like. But again, I'm not asking you guys to make the decision today. I really just want to put it out for discussion today.
I think the answer is already out here, Roy. I mean, our officers need to be focused on the roads. We don't need any extra distractions. So I'm, whatever you decide, but I really think you start to put some things in motion.
Okay.
Plus
Well,
that,
Yeah, so I think,
that fence, don't be throwing that fence away. You can sell that for big dollars.
the fence has been knocked down several times. We lose chunks of that fence every high windstorm.
Yeah, but I would save it. I just know, I saw on Marketplace how much some of that went for, so.
So just one final side note, I don't want to begrudge it. One thing I don't want to do as the chief is I don't want to drive operations to say, let's drive operations to say, let's tow as many cars as we can. So we want to, there's times and places we don't need to tow residents' cars. And I don't want to get into issues like, hey, tow their car because we just want to get the revenue for it. I don't want our operations to be driven that way. If there's not a need to tow the car, then we're not going to tow the car. So it's not going to be dollar sign driven. I'm not looking at it from that perspective. I know there is a monetary piece to this, but I don't want operations to be driven in that fashion.
Right. You're 100% right, because we work for the residents, and our job is not to make their life harder, but our job is to make it safer. So.
Well, if it's
I think so. I think the board is the same thing, Roy, is to start moving forward with the design of a plan. So work with legal counsel if you need to look at what options we have that we can offer in a contract. Start looking at what your, per se wish list for a contract looks like. And then what that, 3 month, 6 month, 1 year plan of action looks like, then bring it back to the board with your recommendation. So then we can move forward with that.
I'd like to, if possible, I'd like to have them get it done before the end of the year so we can start the new year with a fresh plan. You think you can do it, Roy?
I'll have something. How about this? I'll have something that I can put together before the end of the year. I do want to leave an adequate window because the holidays get a little goofy. So if I'm waiting for some legal advice or I need somebody to put a set of eyes on something, they're out of the office for Thanksgiving week, Christmas week, I just want to be cognizant of that piece. So I don't want to rather do it right than fast, if that makes sense. But I'll try to have something together for you by the end of the year. But let's not look at the houses on fire if it's not January 1st. Is that okay?
Right. But just remember, the latter part of the winter, as long as there's not a lot of snow, Dave could easily get that taken apart.
Okay.
Well, and I see Dave's hands go up. So I think a fair piece, maybe, Mike, we could say is, Roy, can we set this as a first quarter goal for 2021, that we have a plan in place and we're moving forward with it?
Yeah,
because then that becomes a measurable item.
I agree. I would agree.
Okay. All right. Anything else?
Yeah, just ask really quick. Sue, this is really kind of for you as well. I know you'd made a question. We had some discussion about doing a Thanksgiving filler cruiser up with Meyer. I've been back and forth with some email with their store manager. They had some questions on some things relative to doing that and how it ties into COVID. We're kind of in a gray area. I don't know that we're going to be able to do that with them or not. So Sue, I just wanted to give you a brief on that may not happen because of the COVID curveball that is kind of presenting itself. So I just wanted to give you a heads up on that.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. That's all I have unless there's any other questions.
Thanks, Roy.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you. All right. Fire department. Craig, floor is yours.
Okay, I'm here. Foremost, I just wanted to talk about our levy that we had on and say thank you to the residents and thank you to everybody who helped on that. I can't say it enough right now. I'm still kind of in shock about it. I mean, it was a tight race, but I truly believe, like we said when we first started this, that we put it out to the voters and let the voters vote, and they said yes to it. So that's fortunate for us and how we move forward. This is a big step that secures us for the next, 50 plus years. So, in my opinion, and I think your opinion too, it'll be a nice town centerpiece moving forward for us. This is going to be a beautiful building. So again, just wanted to say thank you to everybody. I think the next question is going to be, where does this go? And I will have those conversations starting today. We were very happy with Moody Nolan and what they were able to provide with us, and I want to retain them moving forward, but I need to have those conversations on how that moves forward. I mean, in my mind, it starts today, but I don't know. I think we got to sign new contracts, and there's a lot of steps now. So, question.
Well, Craig, too, not to rush it. we got to wait. Those are unofficial voting results. Being that close at a 0.5%, there may be a hand count to that too. So you also wait to get the official transcripts, I think, before the USDA is going to allow us to move forward with much too. So we'll have to get a hold of the board to see when they're going to release the official results, because there's a difference between unofficial and the in the middle of the night. And then from there, we'll have to get with USDA and see what that process looks like.
Of course. Of course, but those anticipating that those numbers are right, or it won't change by 200. I think 200.
Right.
I think we're okay, but yes, you're right. We need to get official numbers. But super excited. So, as one weight gets lifted, now we have a up to 2-year build to start next. So, which is a good problem to have. So. Any other comments to that from trustees or anything?
No, I just want to say to the residents, thank you for supporting this fire and administration levy. I know there was a lot of questions. There was some rumor mills out there, and we tried to answer as best as possible. I think I can speak for all three of us as trustees on this. We're always available to answer your questions. We're here to answer them. We're here to be open and honest with what's going on in the township. This is just the piece we needed. I know it's a difficult time out there. We're thankful that you passed it. We know it was close, and so that does send a message. And so, you know, we try to be as fiscally as responsible and smart as we can with things. And we hear that you support us, but you're also saying, hey, money's getting tight. So, you know, we're going to continue watching that as we move forward. But I'm really excited. I think this is a great opportunity for Brimfield. It's a piece that's been needed for our fire staff and our administrative staff. And in the next 2 years, we can get rid of some of those overhead costs, such as renting property. We can bring people back together. Craig, you did an amazing job on this. I want to thank you for all your hard work, your time, your effort. To the firefighters that were out there working stuff on the side, trying to get out, put signs out, talk to people, whatever it is. It was really an entire effort to make this happen today.
Right.
This is not need. This has been a need we've had for 15 years. So it is a well needed, and I wanted to thank Craig as well. So
15, it was 20 years, John, when I came to office.
Well, I was only here 15, so
20 years they've had to put up
25 years for me, so
Amen.
hang in there. Good deal.
Right. So thanks again. I do want to put out there one more time. We are not associated with the school. I've heard it already again, that, you know, about the school. Township is separate than the school. We love the school, or I'll speak for myself. I love the school. I support the school, but we are separate from the school. We do township. We handle township money, not school money. So I just, that's still out there.
right.
That people get that mistaken. So it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
But so with that being said, I will have a lot of updates coming up. So we'll keep moving forward with that. The only other thing I had was positive things. We have a BWC grant that's out there that bought us a gear washer that can be moved from the old station to the new station. That's weird to say now, but I can probably start saying that. That was $15,000. It'll be delivered tomorrow. That was on a grant that we were able to secure, and our radio grant that was worth up to $160,000. Those radios are starting to come in. So another grant that we were able to secure this year. So we are working diligently on getting free money. I love free money. So we've been doing that. Other than that, if you don't have any questions for the fire department, I'm tired and I need more coffee. So. Yeah, right. I just have one thing for administration, if we want to roll into that.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, I didn't put it on the list, and again, I apologize. I was off yesterday because of election with my kids. But we're getting to the time of the year where we don't set this at the beginning of the year, but we talk about Black Friday and Christmas Eve. We usually give that off to the staff. Do we want to go ahead and do that today? Or
But we did that already, Craig, at the beginning of the year.
No, we said we weren't going to do that. We're just going to do that on a year-to-year basis, I believe. That was not in the annual meeting. because of unknown circumstances, but I could be wrong.
But do you want to make?
I'll go ahead and make a motion. I'll make a motion to close the administrative offices on the day after Thanksgiving, which will be the 27th of November, and Christmas Eve on December 24th.
Second.
Me.
Okay, all those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Nick,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
motion passed.
And I know the motion already passed, but just as justification, we have nobody that comes through our door those days. I mean, it's just, and if we do, most people are off anyways. So we're pretty much going to have to.
Right.
Thank you for that. And I keep forgetting about it, but it's time to bring it up. So.
Under admin, Craig, you probably won't have the answer for this, but John probably will. John, any updates from the company or from the law firm we're working with on the policy and procedure manual updates? I know we sent them everything. Have they given any feedback yet to date?
I haven't got anything from him, but I'll put him on my list to call. I haven't heard back from
Okay.
him.
So I'd like to try to wrap that project up maybe by the December so that we could roll that out in early January. And then that will finalize that project.
I'm going to email him right now.
Nick,
All right, thank you.
just a real quick comment on that. I'd like to, you say by the first of the year.
Yes.
I mean, I guess I'm agreeing with you on that. We really need an update on that. So I'd really like to see that done also. That's it.
Okay. Anything else for administration?
Not on my end. And like I said, I usually would have more, but I've been consumed with levy. So.
Right. All right. Hearing none, we'll move into zoning and economic development. Craig, do you want me to take this or do you want to go through this?
I can go through that list real quick or maybe you should, because it was in front of me and now it's gone. Oh, here it is. I got it.
Okay. Oh,
I,
you got it?
I have a question about the first one that's going to be given.
Okay. Are you talking about on zoning?
Yes.
So first of all, Mike Ladd wasn't able to be here today. He was out on a sick leave. So I'll just give that report. And that report starts with number one, virtual board of zoning appeals hearing is November 18th, 2020 at 7 p.m. And what
Okay.
was your
Question I have is, we'll be on a Zoom, we'll be on a virtual.
Correct.
How do we go about being on Zoom and being able to be part of, not necessarily be part of the meeting, but to be able to hear what's going on, what's said? Like, I want to listen to that meeting. If it were live, I would be there.
I can chime in if
So
you
what you do is Zoom. Oh yeah, so you can just catch it on, so I watch them all. You go to our YouTube channel, the Brimfield, Ohio YouTube channel, and just seeing right now, we're in the Zoom, like is actually watching it on the YouTube side. So they go to the YouTube channel,
Okay.
yep, and they can watch it live right there. Typically we have hyperlinks on our website too, and the Facebook page you get to it. But if you just go to YouTube, all of our meetings are projected live there, and then they're stored there also. So you can see any of the past zoning appeals, zoning commission meetings. All that information is right there on our YouTube channel.
Okay. I think that's just a refresher for everybody that's listening today to know how to do that. Thank you.
Yep. I will say in those channels, if I'm available to sit there and monitor them, I will, but I'm not always. It depends on what's going on. Because if you make, there's YouTube has a platform which you can make messages, right? So you can send a message, you can say, hey, I got a question about whatever. The boards, including ourselves, are not monitoring those. So there's no live interaction, just so you know, Sue, and so the public knows. If you ask questions during the BZA meeting or a trustee meeting, we're not going to answer them there because there's nobody monitoring that channel. Any questions or public comments that need to be made about a topic need to be submitted beforehand in writing or via telephone to the appropriate board. So for here, they would call you, Mike, or myself. For the BZA, they call Mike Ladd or one of his staff members and submit those public comments to then be read during the meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, moving on.
Well, we didn't vote on the, did we vote on the day off? I'm sorry. Was that too late?
Yes, we did.
Everybody
Yep,
voted
yes, and it
yes.
passed unanimously.
I'm sorry.
Zoning Commission is canceled for November due to no items on the list. Maple Crest West has several businesses looking at coming in next year. We talk about Maple Crest, we're talking about the west side of that would be Maple Crest West. Kanata Companies is purchasing the old Holiday Inn property. They're considering a TIF for that development. Kanata Companies is looking at probably small business area. I'll say that. I can't say much more than that. So we're not talking about house. Go ahead.
And keep in mind, if we are considering a TIF, there's a big difference between the TIF if they're going for a TIF, because then they go to the county. That's where they get the 30-year. We get a big cut to our money. The TIF we're looking at is a piece that will help drive some development here in Brimfield Township, and it's a 10-year TIF. So there's a big difference between those two.
Well, and I don't think we're considering it. We're pushing to implement it.
Now,
Yeah, the big hurdle on the TIFs, the 10 TIFs that we can do, is we've got to identify projects that will benefit that area that are considered improvements. So, for example, building a new road garage probably isn't going to work, right? Building a new fire station, or supplementing some of the fire station payment with that, would not work. However, bringing water lines back there, improving new roadways back there, those are all things that are potential TIF pieces. The way the TIF works is we got to identify those projects pre-TIF, put those into motion, and then when we take the TIF forward, once we have it approved, then those dollars have to be allocated to a line item with John and only can be spent on those pre-approved projects. So there is a little bit of work on our back end to do that, but once we do that, that's funding that we're able to utilize.
And on that piece, we should 100% be doing this with every development.
Well, and
Yes,
even in that
yes, we
area,
should.
there's lots of sewer and roads. That's kind of a mess back there on Holiday Drive going into there.
I know Kanata Companies, from what I've been told, is a very well-known company, and it looks like from the proposal, which I won't say, I sound like Mike Ladd here, but I won't say what it is right now, but it looks like useful, nice things. It'll look good in Brimfield Township.
hey, Craig?
Yeah.
Do you know it? Do they have an anchor tenant yet? You don't have to name them, but do they?
No, I know that there's been a few things thrown out there, all things that would look good though. So, but no anchor.
No Cabela's?
No, nothing that big. We're talking more like, from what I'm understanding, and I think I can say this, more smaller strip style areas or shopping.
You can't start that casino rumor?
Not yet.
Okay.
Well, if you do go to Kanata Companies and Google them, you can see images of things they've done in the past. Not saying any of these are coming in, but it's
How do you spell it?
Cannata.
Nada.
Yeah, they're in Garfield Heights, Brecksville, Aurora, Beach. So it shows kind of what they are all about.
Great.
Sheets has applied to the BZA for November as a conditional use. They also have several variance requests on that, which we knew they would. Just we have to play that out. They have the right to do that, and they'll go forward and see where it lands. So I mean, we don't.
So let me stop you there, Craig, on that one too. Just understanding, if you want to hear their appeal, that'll be on November 18th at 7 p.m. You can watch that on YouTube. This is a decision that is not made by the Board of Trustees. This is a decision that is made by the Board of Zoning Appeals. We have a panel of residents who sit on that board. They will review the facts. They will take the information, compare that to what law says, and then they will make a determination. There's a lot of comments out there and questions about why the Board of Trustees would allow this or that to happen with insider townships. We don't have control over that board. They are a separate legal entity from us. They are quasi-judicial, which means they hold the legal rights to do that. They are an acting legal judge and board. So just want everybody to understand that that's what's happening with that piece. You do have a right as a public citizen to speak on that. To speak on that, though, you will need to get with Mike Ladd in the Zoning and Economic Office and submit that in writing or over the phone to have that evidence read into. And when we say read, we don't mean literally read it during the meeting. Oftentimes those get posted on our website, and that packet of information goes before the BZA members.
Nick, you're frozen.
Oh, I'm good. No, that's it. I just wanted to make sure everybody understood a process. Yeah, because there's so much misinformation out there about the BZA process, and I just want people to understand how the different boards work and interact together. So cheers, Craig.
Wave Wash Car Wash has applied for conditional use. That's in Maple Crest West. I think they're looking at, again, west of Arby's in that area as a drive-through car wash.
Right.
Comprehensive land use is being worked on. They're compiling survey data. Talked about that over the last few months. Surveys were out there. It's going to take a while to compile all that stuff, but that's being worked on. Hickory Creek PRD was approved by BZA and is now on list for regional planning. Hickory Creek is over by Sugar Maple Hills. Talking about another development in that area, residential.
I know that is definitely causing a lot of pissed off. Nick and Sue, I'm sure you've been reading some of the comments.
Well,
yeah, and that's another reason I made the comments about the sheets and the BZA. People seem to be frustrated with the zoning variances that were issued. Once again, we as a board of trustees do not control that BZA. They are an independent board. Yes, the members are appointed by the board of trustees for 4-year terms. So every year we get an opportunity to change out board members and put who we believe is the best representation of our population. But we do not and cannot influence the voting process of that because it is that quasi-judicial board. They hold that legal authority.
But I do, as a resident, I am getting a little concerned about all the building. I know people want to come to Brimfield, but we've got to keep a bit of our rural identity. So does that mean more parks? I mean, it's all things in green spaces. We need to.
Well, and as you say that, Mike, I completely agree with you, and this is my opinion only, personal opinion, but the schools are busting at the seams. I mean, they just can't fit anymore. So, I mean, I don't know where this lands because it all works together. I know we're not part of the school. We're a township, separate entity, but we all end up working together at some point.
And I mean,
Well,
you know, numbers as well as I do. Every house that comes in, we don't make money on that house. I mean, it's a strain on our services. So I sure hope these boards realize what they're dropping in our egg basket.
Right.
Well, and so people often ask, what is the Board of Trustees doing then, right? What can we do about that? And that is why the comprehensive land use plan is being done. That's why we're doing these surveys right now, because the only tool that we can put in as a Board of Trustees to control some of this growth and dictate what goes where and give parameters for the BZA to work in is our zoning rules, regulations, and our land use plan. So yes, there are actions being taken by the Board of Trustees right now, and that is that comprehensive land use. And once we put that in place, then we can start to regulate partials more to say, no, this cannot be this unless they meet certain terms and conditions. So that is what we can do. That is a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. We're hoping to launch that comprehensive land use plan early 2021. We were shooting for January. Obviously, COVID had an effect on that. But that is the piece that we can implement. The second piece that we've done, and I've worked with Mike Ladd on this, is retraining our Board of Zoning Appeals and our Zoning Commission on what is really considered a hardship. So to approve these variances and these zoning appeals, there has to be a hardship. And a hardship isn't, it's going to cost me extra money. The hardship is actually a legal definition. So we are retraining and educating our boards to not give so many zoning appeals and approvals, because they should only be issued under hardships. Before, there wasn't a lot of education for the boards. They didn't understand some of these pieces. As we've grown, we've had to change and re-educate our board members so they understand how the BZA should actually and what those definitions. We have a law firm that is doing that training for our staff so they understand how to act and what actions can be taken. So hopefully that helps the public understand some of the pieces that are happening behind the scenes.
Right. But we have to make it clear to Mike Ladd also, I mean, you know, our feelings, so, you know.
Right.
Okay.
Okay, last thing here, they're working with the developer on Oakwood Acres to finalize plans for submittal. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Oakwood Acres is the old Green Hills golf course site.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely so, yes.
So I know that there was housing rumor out there, Redwood rumor, and then senior center. I think half of that is still in the works and half of it has stopped. So again, another more housing as we just speak about that. So
I know, you know, the one thing, you know, just reading some of the comments from the fire station, et cetera, people clearly do not understand the little bit of money we get from homes.
right.
And, you know, and someone's out there spouting their demands about, you know, the new shopping center that's coming in. I mean, for God's sake, we don't make that much money. We spend more money on providing safety services. You know, these people need to understand this whole piece. We are not making a ton of money.
They do need to understand that, but that comes our strategic plan too of how we keep up and move forward also. But we're always working on it. So as a board,
Right.
all
Yeah,
departments.
maybe what we ought to do is get a hold of Janet and actually get a few numbers so we can put it out so people understand. I mean, they think they see all these brand new houses and they think that all the trustees are going to be driving around in Hummers and Cadillacs. I mean, we don't make enough money.
Yeah.
Right. No, that
Well, again, even with the ad building, I think one of my favorite comments is, you know, somebody made the comment, well, thanks for building me a new offices, and they want to run for trustee. Well, that's great. You're still not going to have a new office because the trustees never built themselves offices, right? We were tactical in how we did this. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and it's a constant battle for us as trustees to put out those misinformation fires and educate people. It's just like when we build more houses. More houses does not equate to more money for the schools or more money for the township. It just equates to a lower portion of your tax payment yourself on your property until that board, be it the school or the trustees, go forward and bring that value back up to actual millage. So there's a lot of misinformation about how taxes work and how how finances work. I did videos on this about 3 years ago. We may need to do something like that again to help people understand. And I'll put this out there like I do on every Facebook post. I'm available to call me. Leave me a voicemail. If I don't answer, I will call you back and we will have that conversation. And I'll help you, I'll give you the facts so that you can make an informed decision.
I know the big thing to seeing people they seem to understand, it's like a big pizza. I've talked about this before. You get it. In the beginning, it has 8 pieces. After the end of the term or middle of the term, it's cut into 16 or 24 pieces. You know, that's how little your taxes are actually being reduced. The more people that move into town, right. People do not understand that. But I'm just saying on property taxes also, we do not make much money. I mean, the schools make more money out of our property taxes than we do. And we're providing all these safety force services, roads, everything. I mean, I don't want to say clueless, but there's a lot of people that just do not understand. And so. Well,
because especially if you find people coming from a city to a township, city finance is much different than and how dollars can be gathered and collected. We don't get those impact fees. We don't get all those additional pieces that cities get. So to offer the same amenity as the city is very, very difficult for a township. So we have to be wise in what we choose and implement because our taxing structure is much different and our finances are much different.
Right. This is why we need home rule. Let's see what the census will come out as.
Okay, the only other thing you can see in front of you, the But I did want to say one last thing. We did hire a full-time zoning secretary, Lauren Kaufman, and she's been in this week, and she's doing a great job already. So just wanted to welcome her, and she's going to be busy. So
And just tell her to make bigger font. It's hard for me to read.
okay, all right, I will.
I got coffee all over it.
I'll tell John to yell at her next time.
Yell at it right now, bang on the wall.
Right, right.
Since we rent here together.
Right.
And unless you had any questions, I think just to follow up, Lauren will be busy with things over the next week to 2 weeks because Mike with his sick time, and I won't go into that because that's his personal business, will be out for probably a week or two with surgery. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you for the update. And we'll move on to road department. Dave, floor is yours.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Good morning, Dave.
Yes, you're good.
Just wanted to make sure of these computer things. I just want to let the board know that we've been working on some weather-related issues, some water and all that from the weeks of rain. We've been having quite a few funerals here lately, so that takes my guys away from road work to work at the cemetery. We've worked on the snow equipment. We're in pretty good shape with stuff. Everything seems to be working fine. We're going to be doing some road repairs, some berms during this nice stretch. Plus, we're working on some ditching to get some of this water to move on some of these areas. To let the board know, November 10th, I'm having a virtual meeting with OPWC around 35 with Portage County to go over the things and see where we fall on the list. Actually, we're looking pretty good on that for the Howe Road project for next year. And we did have to put a little bit of salt down, not much. We just did the overpasses on Sherman, Howe, and Selnick with this last little bit of snow we had just to make sure everybody was safe out there. And other than that, that's all I got for right now.
Dave,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you about your funeral traffic. Have you been dealing with Portage Granite and Marble in Kent for any of these funerals?
I don't deal with Portage Marble. That's for the headstones.
Right.
That'd be more of a Rochelle kind of thing. We got all the foundations poured, so yeah, I don't really deal with Portage Marble on them during the funerals. So.
Okay, well, I'll check with Rochelle and follow up because I'd like to get that lettering done and that monument moved over to the Pioneer.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, and one other thing I forgot, Mike had me looking into the John Oswald signs for the street and stuff. And when I had to leave the meeting for a minute, I will actually have a look at a sign and stuff today about 10 o'clock. So we'll have one where everybody can see it and see if this is what we want to approve and move forward with.
Okay, Dave,
road signs in Arcadia.
Dave, can you shoot me a picture?
Yeah. Once I get one, they made one. That way we can see what it really was going to look like and size and everything. So we'll see what it's done.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right. Any questions for road department? All right. Hearing none. Thank you, Dave. Cassie, Parks and Rec.
All right, I just have a few informational pieces for the board today. I've been working hard on our Christmas events. The community Christmas drive-through is scheduled for Sunday, November 29th from 5 to 7 p.m. Elegant Lighting has already started to decorate the town square. It looks really great. Also, the Township Christmas Lighting Contest, I do have a slight change for that. Originally, the judging period for that was going to be starting right after the community Christmas drive-through and going through the 13th of December. That's going to be shortened to the 5th of December, with the winner being announced on the 6th. And that is to align with the other communities that are doing their Christmas lighting contests. And so far it's Rootstown, Atwater, Talmadge, and Suffield. I think I'm forgetting one. But they would like to go head-to-head with our township to compete for an overall winner. So to kind of shorten that time frame and get that all done, we adjusted that. So then the overall winner would be announced on the 12th of December.
But we still
and I made an announcement. I'm sorry?
We still will have one Brimfield winner, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. So we're going to announce our winner on the of December, and then that winner will go head to head with the winners from the other townships for the overall winner. And I'm
Hey.
coordinating with the Britztown Chamber to do all of that. So
What celebrity is going to be driving around looking at all these homes like that TV show?
oh, I heard Mike
you see-
Kostensky is going to be doing it.
That's what I was
That
gonna
was
say.
the rumor.
Real celebrity. Maybe we can get.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll make some calls. So then, I'm advertising both of the events on social media and all that. The Parks Committee, there's a slight delay in the background checks. They were going to get their background checks, and the Sheriff's Office is currently closed. Their background check office is closed due to some restructuring for COVID. So I've gotten most of them back. There were a couple that weren't able to make it there in time, so just waiting on those. And my third item is I was working with Brian to use Hootsuite. It's a social media streamlining application so that you can post one post to all 3 of our social media accounts at the same time. So like I do a lot of social media posting, and it's kind of tedious to go from Facebook to Instagram to Twitter. So if you wanted to be able to use this, you could talk to me or Brian, because one of my goals was to increase our usage of Instagram and Twitter, because not everybody uses Facebook, and I see that that's kind of our main form of communication. So if you're interested in learning how to use that, you can talk to me about it.
Definitely. Yeah, I will get a hold of you, Cassie, because we'll add that for when I put messages out. I do want to mention too, for everyone, about the Christmas event. See, today's Wednesday, so tomorrow night I should be finalizing this. The Field Girl Scouts are looking to do an event in conjunction with the township. They're going to be handing out bells, is the plan, at the Christmas drive-through event. And then on Christmas Eve at 6 p.m., we're going to ask all the residents that receive bells and anybody that has bells at home to go outside at 6 p.m. on Christmas Eve to help ring in the Christmas season, but more importantly, help Santa find Brimfield Township so that all the kids can get their Christmas gifts delivered from Santa Claus. So doing that on Christmas Eve at 6 p.m. We'll be going live on Facebook with that, and the Girl Scouts are working on putting together packages to hand out those bells to everybody. So I'm really excited about this. I think it's going to be a fun event.
Hey, Nick, I got a thought.
Yes.
Since the Kelso House has the original town hall bell, who can we dress up in an elf's outfit up there to be ringing that thing?
Dave Ruffner.
Yeah.
I didn't say your name, Nick. I just,
Yeah.
you've lost too much weight. We'd have to have your suit tailored in.
You never know what may happen on Christmas Eve. It could be a Christmas miracle, but that could be fun. Maybe we can ring the old bell at 6 p.m. too. We'll look into that.
I think somebody should ring the bell.
Yeah, it's all about helping Santa find it.
Yep. Too bad we can't get the bell back. We could really use it, Craig. Okay.
So yeah, we want to put that out there. I think it's going to be a fun event. We're just looking for ways to help the community and be engaged in things and looking for fun projects. So we're really excited for this.
And if any departments wanted to help out with the community drive-through or the lighting contest, just contact me. And that was all I had.
All right. Any other questions for Parks? All right. Hearing none. Cemetery. I will say that under cemetery, I had a conversation with one of the local funeral homes. Had questions about dates and why we had some restrictions on the days of the week which we were doing burials. I think we're all under a good understanding now of why that was, because of the scheduling change in the summertime with our road department working 410s instead of 5/8s. And then the Saturday piece and why there's a cost on Mondays or Saturdays for overtime. So just a piece for us, some funeral homes work. Sue, how are your projects over there at the cemetery? I know you're working on the wall.
Yeah, we're working at it. I'm going to make an appointment with Kevin at the Portage Marble and get some of his networking contacts and go that.
Okay.
And the Ohio Cemetery Association. I've made a contact with them, and we'll see what we can pull together.
All right, perfect.
Nick, while we're talking about cemetery, I'm going to meet Christy McMillan as soon as we get a date over at the old cemetery, because she has gotten some information to us. Because there is extra space over there, but if I got it right, there's no records on what's there. So, we're talking about possibly 3 more acres of cemetery. So
West
I'm
Lawn.
going to meet her and try to get some information.
Okay, that'd be good.
Okay.
All right. Hearing nothing else on cemetery, fiscal office.
I don't have anything. Just watch your pockets. Don't spend any money.
John, I don't know if we talked.
You tell us this for 11 and a half months. What 2 weeks do we get to spend money?
You get to spend it in March and April, in July and August. That's it. All the rest of them are don't spend any. So it's just
All right, we'll save up all of our quotes.
Yeah, we just have it all planned out. I mean, all the expenditures that we're doing are all things that we know, and we just have to pay them. And we don't want anything except for emergencies if they're new. So, but we're following the budget as we have been.
You guys do a wonderful job, John.
Did you see the dividend check that was just approved again by BWC for December?
I did not see it yet. Did it get mailed or did it get emailed to us?
No. So the check you just received for October, you should have just gotten it probably in the past couple days. BWC released, they're doing a third dividend check. It's one that you haven't gotten. It's going to come in December. Take your October check and times it by 3.7.
That was the 100,000 one that we were thinking we were going to get, right?
Yeah, they approved that on Tuesday.
Okay.
Or Monday.
I did know. I know that it was going to be out there. We just hadn't received it yet. But I know. Thank you tell your friends at the BWC. Thanks for.
Well, that should help us with our carryover for the January month.
Yep. And
right.
I do need to mention this just from the fiscal office perspective. We did get. This is more for Roy. We did get one of our local hotels in town to divvy us some money the other day. So, and we have a plan in place on a monthly basis, but we just got 4 months all paid at the same time. So, and Roy, you know who I'm talking about.
I think we all do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I see we don't have any executive session scheduled for today. So for anything else for the good of the order for Brimfield Township. All right. If not, I need a motion to close the meeting.
I will close this meeting.
Second. I'll second that.
All those in favor, Mike,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
Nick.
Yes.
We are closed at 9:07.
Have a good day,
All
everyone.
right. Everyone have a great day. Be
Mike,
safe out
don't
there.
forget to come over.